Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Astatarasata Shishimad The Divine Grace of Bhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Pandracharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki BBT Pandracharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Savior of the whole world is Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Pavishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Astatarasata Shri Shrimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi All glory to the Summa devotees All glory to the Summa devotees All glory to the Summa devotees All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada Continued reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Additional Pastimes. It's still a summer in Montreal. August 1968. Srila Prabhupada was in his room with several devotees. So, Annapurna, Prabhupada said, you have got some news? Annapurna was a young British girl. A few months previously, her father had written her from England that he might be able to provide a house if a group of devotees came to England. Yes, Annapurna replied. So what is our next program? Annapurna was reticently shy. Once before, when Prabhupada had asked her whether she chanted 16 rounds a day, she had blushed, stammered, and then, on the verge of tears, had said, some days I chant more than 16 rounds. And Prabhupada had to laugh. That letter from your father is encouraging, Prabhupada inquired further. Yes, Annapurna answered. He encourages me, but he says he can't provide any place if we come there. That's all right, Prabhupada said, a little disappointed. It's up to Krishna. When we go to someone to preach, we have to stand up before them with folded hands, with all humility. My dear sir, please take to Krishna consciousness. Swamiji, Pradyumna asked, I was reading a book by Vivekananda. There are some letters in the back of the book, and I was looking at them. Vivekananda book we have nothing to do with, Prabhupada said curtly. I wasn't looking at his philosophy, Pradyumna explained. I was just looking at his technique for when he was in America. He wished to go to Europe, so he had one man who was a rich benefactor, and he went on a 6-week tour of France, England, Germany, Switzerland, Holland, and then back. That's how he did most of his tour. He had 1 or 2 influential people, and he did everything just like that. And the lectures were arranged, and the society. So, can you arrange like that, Prabhupada asked? I was thinking that there would be a Royal Asiatic Society in London. I think Thakur Bhaktivinoda was a member of that. But where is Thakur Bhaktivinoda Sangha, Prabhupada asked. No, Pradyumna continued, but there will still be some people there that we might open correspondence with. They might be interested in sponsoring you. Is there anything about Krishna in Vivekananda's speech, Prabhupada asked? No, I wasn't reading his speeches. Prabhupada sat thoughtfully. If he were to go to England, he would have no place to stay. Pradyumna might talk of influential persons traveling ahead and making all arrangements, but where were such persons? Here was a shy girl who could hardly speak up and whose father would not help. And Pradyumna reading Vivekananda and talking about a Royal Asiatic Society, but nothing practical. Prabhupada had been thinking of sending some devotees to London right away and then joining them later. He wanted to start something in Europe as soon as possible. Mukunda and Shyamasundar were eager to go and would be arriving in Montreal in a few days. Prabhupada, Shivananda spoke up, breaking the silence. Yes. May I go to England? Shivananda had asked once before. Prabhupada had told him no, that he should stay in Montreal and help. He was only 20, and his desire to go seemed to be mostly restlessness. He was sincere but inexperienced. But now he was asking again, and it was timely. My mother will give me money for the trip, Shivananda continued. She says it'll be all right as long as I go back to college after opening a temple there. Seems like a good exchange, right? Prabhupada nodded. Yes, that's all right. You can go. You are sincere, but be careful. I was an old Calcutta boy, and so when I came to New York, I never got cheated. Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, had wanted to spread Krishna consciousness in Europe. He had sent his most experienced sannyasis, giving them financial support from India, but they had returned, accomplishing nothing. Perhaps these boys and girls could succeed where others had failed. Prabhupada felt it was possible. He knew it would greatly please Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada had faith that his disciples would be able to establish something in Europe just as they had done in America. He gave the example that if someone finds a gourd lying on the road and picks it up and finds a wire and picks that up, although the two parts are in themselves useless, if he puts them together to make a veena, it could play beautiful music. Similarly, Prabhupada had come and found some hippies lying here and there, and he himself had been rejected by the people in New York City. But by Krishna's grace, it had become a successful combination. If his disciples remained sincere and followed his orders, then they would be successful in Europe. Srila Prabhupada ki. It's interesting reading the story, since we already know the ending. Is that like cheating? is have to be careful when you speak with a garland that has pins in it. Meant to remind you, don't speak anything nonsense. Aha. Look at that. A big one, too. Whoever brings the garland should check it. Better check to see if there's any more. Oh, it's okay. It's not kind of Gopal's fault either. Whoever takes the garland off the deity should check it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 13th chapter, text 24, chapter titled The Descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. Etad ekyahi me brahman. Etad akyahi me brahman. Sunitatmajachestitam. Sunitatmajachestitam. Shuddhadanaya bhaktaya. Shuddhadanaya bhaktaya. Tvam paravaravitamaha. Tvam paravaravitamaha. Please chant. Chaitanya. Ladies, Anyone else? No? Etat, all these, Akyahi, please describe, me, unto me, Brahman, O great Brahmana, Sunita Atmaja, O of the son of Sunita, Vena, Cheshtatam, activities, Sudadanaya, faithful, Bhaktya, unto your devotee, Tvam, you, Para Avara, with past and future, Vitamaha, well conversant. Shri Shivara Govinda Dev Ki Jaya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am your faithful devotee, so please explain this. Please repeat. Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am your faithful devotee, so please explain this. Purport. Vidura accepted Maitreya as his spiritual master. A disciple always inquires from the spiritual master, and the spiritual master answers the question, provided the disciple is very gentle and devoted. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said that by the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed with the mercy of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master is not inclined to disclose all the secrets of transcendental science unless the disciple is very submissive and devoted. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the process of receiving knowledge from the spiritual master entails submission, inquiry, and service. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Taminatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhangum Lankayate Gurum Rakipatam Mam Bande Shri Gurum Diratanam Rinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyam Takstoya Badrani Do Noti Surit Chatam. So this, of course, the upcoming verses and the discourse regarding Maharaj Venu is especially instructive. And listening to Prabhupada's lectures, if you go to the list of transcripts, he only gave one lecture from 4th canto. That's in the 14th chapter. And the verse is, because it's 14 chapters already passed, but it's the story of King Vena, so we're coming up to it. And so obviously Prabhupada has a reason. Out of the whole 4th canto, only one lecture. Of course, all of his purports are there, so understand it. But he emphasized this, how first, as was described the other day in class by Maharaj, how the qualities of the mother go to the son. And so because Sunita was the daughter of, who was that? So therefore, he inherited these negative qualities. But no one is, with this age of Kali, Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In this age, everyone is born Shudra. regardless of the so-called caste divisions and orders of life, right? Atakpumbir dvija shesta vanashama vibhagasaha sunustatasya dharmasya sangsiddhir haritoshanam. So there is a necessity to understand at least from some position of realization, mixed with some humility, who we are and where we come from, and that we can appreciate the benediction that has been offered to us. So in that lecture, Prabhupada also describes that Maharaj Vena was also offered a benediction from the Brahmanas. His behavior was such that they could have just gone and said, pronounced their curse and killed him. But they gave him a chance. They said, if you listen to us, if you do like this, we'll give you a long life. And you can rule. There's no problem. But you have to follow. And so this is, and Prabhupada went on to explain that this benediction is there also in spiritual life. That if one is executing the order of the spiritual master, he's performing devotional service, and he is awarded extra time. His destiny has been put on hold. His so-called destiny. Right? One time, an astronomer who was very keen, astrologer, a palmist, he had some curiosity. We were in Vrindavan, we were still somewhat of a novelty, even when we were there, especially in the early days, but even up to the time in the 80s. People are always a little bit curious. Why are these people, what are they doing? They don't have to be here. They're rich men's sons. And they're living in such austere conditions, which was a fact. Very austere. So he came and he wanted to, and his son, who was very favorable because the devotees used to give a lot of business. That's natural. And he said, my father really wants to meet you. I said, well, why? We're just another, No, but his father wanted to meet because out of curiosity, he wanted to see what brought these people here. Because for them, they can read your hand like a road map. No secrets. So one day he just popped into my office, on the ground floor of the Gurukul building, the Samadhi office. And the gentleman was a very pakka Brahmana, not like, you see some people who pretend, but he was, from externally speaking, they had a class of gentlemen. Also, you could see even in Calcutta back in the day, where they properly dressed with a vest, a dhoti, even tucked in his pocket, topi, they used to call topiwala, so he had complete, and he only spoke Sanskrit. A little bit like a type of mood that they had. And so he came and I asked, if he looked at my hand, I said, why is he looking? I had a little thinking I have some knowledge. We had no knowledge. For looking at my left hand, and I'm thinking, why is he looking at left hand? So I asked the son, because his father's, it was almost like I wasn't there, like he was reading a book on a shelf. He was talking to his son only. So I said, why is he looking at my left hand? He said, the left hand is what you're born with, and the right hand is what you make of it. So I didn't know that. I was very intrigued. So first he looked at my left hand, and then he looked at my right hand. And he went on and he said so many different things. The point is, he was curious, he wanted to know, and this gentleman was expert. Everybody in Vrindavan knew that this is the pundit for that. Everyone has some specialty. Radharaman has deity worship. This man was the pundit for palmistry, astrology. He was considered to be infallible for various reasons. And there's always some insight. So his son told me what his father was speaking to him about, because I didn't understand Sanskrit. And my Hindi, was passable, but not for that detailed information. But the point is, the Brahmanas and were telling Vena, we can extend your life if you just follow. And then Prabhupada related that in the lecture, and the devotees from the Krishna conscious movement who are following, they also get that same benefit. So your destiny is there. Just like Nectar Devotion says, if you clap your hands in front of the deity, the birds of sin fly away. Those birds of sin are a burden. They're shortening your life. But that Sangsiddhir Haritoshanam, that endeavor to please Krishna, relieves you from these sinful activities, which are the anchors, which keep you rooted in the material world through the various agencies of the material energy. Daivayesha Gunamaya Mamamaya Dharatya. So you have to surrender. Mameviye prapadyante. And then those birds of sin are gone. The resultant reactions, the papa beads, they're also finished. They're not fructifying anymore. If they were continuing to fructify, so then your life would be shortened, because what is this papa beads? Birth, death, old age, and disease. These are manifest, but specifically for us, disease. Old age is there, it's coming. But some people grow old, how do they say? Gracefully. You don't see that they're so burdened. Some people, you see, they start to grow old, and all of a sudden, they're bent over, they have to shuffle along, they can't keep themselves up straight. They can't eat, they can't sleep, they can't do anything. And then disease comes and completely infects the whole body and the personality, because the disease is not just debilitating physically, it's also a burden on the mind. Because one cannot get relief. He's always thinking about his body. And so that, by Krishna's mercy, we saw that Prabhupada up to the last minute, although his body was giving so much trouble like this, he was showing us the example that we don't have to be concerned about it. Whatever is happening by Krishna's arrangement, especially in Vrindavan, or especially to devotees. As a devotee is always supposed to be connected with Krishna. And if you're connected with Krishna, that means you're connected to Vrindavan. To that extent that you maintain some separation, mentally, spiritually, etc., then to that extent you'll be affected by Maya. So don't forget to clap in front of the deities. Get rid of those birds of sin. Take advantage of the opportunity. Nectar Devotion wouldn't give such instruction if it wasn't useful. Right? When you get something that's a manual to some item, they don't put any useless information in there to distract you. What's the point? They only put in what's essential to understand for the operation of the item. So Nectar Devotion says, clap your hands. What is the difficulty? The birds of sin fly away. Not only that, Prabhupada said when you clap your hands, what did he say? The lines on your hand change. So that means that's the proof that your fate is changing. So who knows how long? I mean, when this Panditji was looking at my hand, he was saying so many things. But the point is that he was reading my hand after the left hand, and after, at that time, I was a devotee hardly, maybe 10 years by that time. So he must have seen some change, maybe, maybe not. But you can also see externally. It is not that when a person is in devotional service that there's some necessity to see things through some specific lens, like the Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. That's a different thing. But when a person, adosha tata sadhu sangha bhajaka, you can see a person who's advancing in spiritual life. You can see who needs a little extra attention. You could see who is doing fine from all circumstantial aspects. This is just an opportunity to enjoy the vision of devotees progressing in spiritual life. How Prabhupada's movement is, after 60 years, not an iota of potency has diminished. This is unique. We see so many things that it's specifically the time factor is endowed specifically to deteriorate the material energy. The clock is ticking. It's like when you set your clock at night. It counts down, and then at the appointed time, the alarm goes off. So the material world has that. The time factor is there, and it's constantly ticking away. At a certain point, the alarm is going to go off. And then again, dissolution. But these things are unknown to anyone except the devotees who have access to the Shastra. This is a Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Nobody can understand things as they are without having some connection to the Vedanta Sutras. It's not possible. When they speak in terms that are very relative, very general, very circumspect, no specifics. You try to reason with someone who has faith, that's there. But their basis of faith is some tradition, some association with others who are faithful, but it is not based on knowledge. So this is the difference. Why we're hearing all these things, and as it goes on, to appreciate the subtle interactions, how one gets an extended life by following. It's not just that we follow out of some blind faith, but that on the basis of knowledge, we have confidence that this path will lead one to the ultimate goal. As we have seen, others do so. Mahajana yena gatak sapanta. There are so many examples. And so that is, for us, all the evidence required in order to continue. Any distraction or diversion on my part is not because I don't have the roadmap. It's because I chose to make a stop on the highway of devotion. You know, there's so many. You go on the highway, what does it say? Next rest stop, 75 miles. So you're thinking, oh, I should stop now. But 75 miles is not that far if you just keep going. So the spiritual goal, the spiritual world, and everything that it entails is there. But if you're thinking, no, it's too far, let me stop. Let me get married. But then when you get married, then what happens? Then it's 20, 25 years. And then what? Vanaprasth. So better not to stop, but Prabhupada gave us the option. But he gave the caveat. Do anyone remember what the caveat? We said it last week. He told his grihastas, yes, you can get married, but you have to do more service. So grihastas are thinking, no, they think it's like that stop on the highway, it's a rest area. So it's a rest area, sense gratification, the vending machines, the coffee bar, the snack bar, the rest area for 25 years. Then you have to get back on the same highway. You could have just stayed on the highway. But again, that's okay. Our society has room. If it wasn't for the grihastas, Europe would not have opened. How important it was. Prabhupada said, my godbrothers made all sannyasis, and I made grihastas. He's very proud of that fact, that he was able to adapt. Prabhupada was the greatest strategist, as Ram Roy would say. And then that's a common thing. When you encounter something, you adjust, you adapt, adjust, and you overcome. Who says that? Which branch of the armed forces says that? Adapt, adjust, and overcome. The Marines. Prabhupada used the Marines many times, said, only a few good men. Prabhupada paraphrased. He used to have recruiting posters from my time when I joined, they were everywhere. Join the Marines. Only a few good men. So Prabhupada saw that. He said, yes. That's what we want. Only a few good men. And so he adapted, he adjusted, and he overcame the limitations that, his godbrothers had been constrained by, because they didn't have the faith in their spiritual master that Prabhupada had. And so he was successful with grihastas where they were not with sannyasis. So yes, this is a lesson. We can try to keep everything in context. And so we're still following Prabhupada's unique formula for success. Everything is there. The Sunday feast. Who would have thought, 60 years ago when Prabhupada was cooking for the devotees and Transcendental Love Feast, that this would become iconic. 60 years later, the same Sunday Love Feast, the same ingredients, the holy name, the chanting, the dancing, and the feasting. That's all that's required. We don't have to make, we can make some adjustments according to time and circumstance, but we have to be very circumspect. We have to see whether or not something is working. Can't just implement something because I think it's a good idea. I think. What did Prabhupada say about that? He said, if anyone begins a sentence with the words, I think, you should finish it in a closet. So be cautious how you speak to your God brothers and God sisters. Okay, otherwise you'll be you'll be talking through the closet door. Because that's all that's valuable. Doors. So in any case, the descendant to Dhruva Maharaj is very important. We get to see. And one thing is that now we know from Prabhupada's and from Jayadvaita Maharaj's elucidation that the son inherits the qualities of the mother and the daughter inherits the qualities of the father. And so this is important, that marriage should be carefully arranged. It's not haphazard. And they have specific terms, like pratiloma. A marriage between a person of one caste, a higher caste, and a person of a lower caste, or vice versa. And generally we see when these things are done, at least in the scripture, it doesn't work out well. And that's the lesson. And we should try to understand it. It should be very careful. Lokik Shastra. Can you give to Chitabu when you get a chance? Okay. So there's a Jayadvaita Maharaj mentioned the other day, and he was using that term, Lokik Shastra. About if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, you have to be careful how you choose your spouse. And it's not that, of course, and what they say, beauty is only skin deep. So that's why there's an engagement period of many months to determine compatibility. The charts may be compatible, but still you have to associate with the person to see, is this person going to be, a helpful soulmate in executing spiritual life, serving the spiritual master, etc. like that. That has to be there. Not just that the boy is handsome, the girl is good looking, so many different things. No, it has to be on multiple levels of compatibility. And they have a bunch of things. I always say 50% compatible, 40%, 100%. But these things are all superficial in one sense. Again, if a person just came to spiritual life and they haven't been clapping their hands a lot, then nothing's changed. They're bringing their baggage. They're bringing their left hand into spiritual life. Their right hand hasn't been affected yet. So one has to carefully consider all these things. And then life will be easy. Otherwise, quoting another bard, you could say, beware of Maya. So we have a lot of well-wishers that have given us information in order to maintain a steady course. And even if we do go to the rest area, we have to know that at a certain point, I have to get back on the path. So I have to maintain my viability. That vehicle, whatever I was using in spiritual, I need to be in good shape. It's not that I wait so long that the vehicle is so badly deteriorated that then it's useless. I can't get back on the road. Vanaprastha becomes a dream. Yes, I wanted to do it, but, now I'm too old, I can't. So many excuses. Rather, one should be keeping the car in tip-top shape, spiritually, materially. And he should know, I have to use this to get back on the road again. I need to keep everything in good repair. And that means, what is good repair for the devotee? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, everything has to be intact. Not that now I'm back to let me pick one. That's okay. Prabhupada said, even one is sufficient. But then choose wisely. Because if it's not strong enough to bring you back, to push start the vehicle, you could tell you're old. Sometimes you see these things. If you know how to drive a manual transmission and you know how to pop a clutch. People don't remember what these things are. But it was a common event in order to start a car back in the day. Because you didn't even need a battery, technically. if once you got the car started. The alternator took over, or the generator in those days. So we have to be, somebody has to even be there. Like that's what Sangha means. Someone has to be able to help push, because you need friends. You can't stick one foot out the door, push the car, and pop the clutch. I mean, you can do it. It's been done. We've done it. Every devotee who's old enough has done it. But it's better if you have some friends pushing, and you're just sitting in the driver's seat and you pop the clutch. So at that time of your life, when you're approaching, you need friends to say, hey, Prabhu, come on. Let's go. We need to get back in gear, back on the path of devotion, full time. You know, we've been in the rest area long enough. And so, yes, Sadhu Sangha is probably the most important aspect. If you combine all the features of Adosha Tata Sadhu Sangha, this is essential, because everything else, without that Sadhu Sangha, who will be there to encourage you, to remind you, to, even sometimes tell you, hey, Prabhu, I think you're in Maya. So eventually, people will just leave you alone and let you be in Maya. So you really have to have some real friends who are not afraid to speak up when the time is correct, that, hey, and then also encourage, yes, what's the formula? What do you have to do? Especially some people don't want to get too close to that association, which is strong, which may embarrass me by their instructions, telling me that which I don't want to do. Or you need to, come to the temple for Mangal Artik, chant with the devotees. Right? Especially in larger communities, where everyone is a grihasta. And then there you have a few dedicated souls, and they'll try to cajole you. Hey, Prabhu, Mangal Artik was ecstatic. Ekachakra Pran was really, you missed it. Should have been there. So there's so many ways, and of course sometimes that kick-starts the taste, just like it kick-starts the ruchi. Oh yeah, I remember that ecstasy. The ecstasy of Harinam, the ecstasy of going out with all the devotees in any circumstances. And just fulfilling the mission. The satisfaction that comes from executing the order of the spiritual master against all odds. So we shouldn't be. So the advantage that we shouldn't be like Maharaj Vena, so that the Brahmins have to kill you, put you out of your misery, and then take your arm and use it to churn an incarnation of Vishnu. How does that work? We'll understand those things a little bit further on down the line. Mystic potency. Who can imagine? Like Ganesh. People ridicule. They say these Hindus, they're worshiping an elephant-headed god. But they don't think, what was the mystic potency that allowed such an event to transpire? How did that happen? Although they're trying to do it all the time. What do? They anyone who's familiar with in the medical field, when we were young, we were interested. They'll put a pig's heart into your body while you're waiting for a suitable donor. and other animal parts, like the famous lecture Prabhupada gave about the gentleman in Calcutta who went to Germany, or someplace, he said, and received the genitals, the testes of a monkey, probably from Vrindavan, so that he could enjoy sex life while he was, how old was he? Probably had 70 years old. But he was a rich man. That meant if he was rich in Calcutta, there's only one class of people who are rich in Calcutta. Who are they? Marwaris. All the way to Germany just to get the testicles of a monkey. And that's another danger, Prabhupada said, that in Vrindavan, you think, okay, at least let me take birth as a monkey in Vrindavan. But no. Prabhupada said, all the fallen sannyasis, those are the monkeys. So when you're in Vrindavan, just remember, that could be you if you're a fallen sannyasi. He said, there's no guarantee. You're supposed to, at the end of that life, take birth as a Brijbasi in one of the universes where Krishna will appear, a door again. But sometimes those monkeys get kidnapped for medical experimentation. And you see them sometimes. You see a truckload of monkeys being taken out of Vrindavan. They're not going to a sanctuary. They go into a medical laboratory in Germany or America or someplace where they're going to be cut up, dissected, tortured. So there's no guarantee, even if you take birth in Vrindavan. Padam padam yadvi padam natesham. Danger at every step. And the safest place to be is in the association of devotees. Kirtan. Prabhupada told Achyutananda, Kirtan is the safest platform. In the introduction to the original Vaishnava songbook, Kirtan is, because Kirtan means many. Bhajan, anyone can do. You even, the term solitary bhajan, or bhajananandi. It implies solitary meditation. But kirtan cannot be one. Right? Then it's something else. Then it's bhajan. Kirtan means the association of devotees, chatting together. It produces an effect which cannot be replicated by any other aspect of devotional service. That congregational chanting, why we emphasize? Because it is such a powerful platform for spiritual realization. Bhaktivinoda Thakur famously described how these things are revealed. Why did he say there's nothing except the holy name in the 14 worlds? Nothing but the holy name. And so when one is on Sankirtan, and like, I have to confess, only Ram Roy could be so like the Marine commander to adapt, adjust, and overcome. We never chanted in the subways. And in the wintertime, we would just go out in the blasting cold and chant on the streets. We didn't have a commander to tell us, hey, we could just chant in the subway. No, out on the street. The more austerity, the better. That was our motto back in the day. 10-second showers, cold, sleeping on the floor. That was brahmachari life. So what was it? Going out in the cold weather was nothing. Went out there. And but the accompanying ecstasy, undertaking those austerities, was relishable. And anyone who experienced it relishes it even after 40 or 50 years. That's the kind, just like that camaraderie it only becomes stronger. So sometimes you see this association of veterans groups who were in some conflict together. They have that, and it's an old saying, part of a poem. They turned it into a movie, Band of Brothers. But it's part of a longer epitaph that says, he who sheds his blood with me. Right? So that's what creates that solidity of association. So then after 50 years, very few people, you have a few people who are friends with other people from 50 years ago, but not many. You had to have some shared experience that glued, that cemented that friendship. And so we have that. Serving the spiritual master, just like we see that Sudama and Krishna, when they went to the forest and they got lost, and they huddled together in the pouring rain under a tree. In India, you see so many trees that have hollows. You can actually go inside them. Especially in Old Bruj. When you go over to Belvan, there are trees like that. They're completely alive, flourishing. But you walk up to the tree, like the tree at Siddhapakul, it's completely hollow. You can go inside and stand inside of it. Only the thin bark around it. And you wonder, how is it possible? And it's standing, and it's big. And so Sudama, Vipra, and Krishna, they're there. They're, and that shared experience obviously cemented them. We don't hear about Krishna's other friends in the Gurukul at the time. I'm sure they were there. And the reward, and who else was singled out for that reward? Unimaginable. That friendship with Krishna completely transformed this poverty-stricken Brahmana into the king of heaven, greater than the king of heaven. So these things, all these things are there in context, and that's how they should be understood. What is sadhu sangha? What does it mean to become friends with the devotees? What is the result? How does one become friends with the devotees? Not just by we have Tadati Pratigrinati Guyamakati Prichati. We've been giving everything on a silver platter. How to become successful in spiritual life. We don't have to speculate. We don't have to think in a closet. We can just execute. One has to make friends. He has to, just like you have to be faithful to Krishna, you have to be faithful to your friends. You have to be faithful to your family. If the person is not faithful, then his reputation is finished. As a private investigator for many years, a lot of our business was pursuing what they euphemistically called cheaters. I think they even had a TV show of the same name at some point, because it was such a famous line of work for private investigators called cheaters. And we used to go out. Back to Michael, you know that? You've heard that term? So we used to go out. We'd be hired by one of the spouses and say, I think my spouse is cheating. Can you please confirm? What a horrible situation, right? You promise, what do you promise? To cherish, love, and trust in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Very similar vow that we take at the time of initiation, before the spiritual master, before the deities, before the fire, which represents Vishnu, before the Vaishnavas. So it's a solemn vow. It's not just a casual, I'll meet you Friday for lunch. No, that's not. Very solemn. So one has to be very, conscious There's Vyavasaya Mekabutir. All these things are related. There's one point of attention. Vishaya Vinivartante Niharashidehina. You know, don't look for this higher taste in the wrong place. You know, if one hasn't transferred his intelligence so that he's seeing where, just like that analogy Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told about the person who went to the wedding party. He was invited. Everyone knows that, right? He ended up going to a place that was simply at the dead of night, filled with people who were worshiping ghosts and who were ghosts themselves. And the next day when he went back to that place, he saw all the articles for it was all filthy things, dirty things. There was nothing there. The place where he thought he was, the nicely decorated area, no, it was just an abandoned, like a crematorium. But under the influence of Maya, he thought that this was a part, and he was engaged in all these things, thinking that this is a very nice place. But when he woke up, came to his senses, he realized, oh, this is horrible. What did I do? Who are those people? Yeah, so this is... Anyway, there's too many examples. Pick one. Everyone has seen what happens, you know, to yourself or to others when Maya gets a foothold. Key is not to let her in. Right? Because she's pretty powerful. What do you think? I think she's pretty powerful, right? Right? Prabhupada gave that analogy. He said, when he related the story of Haridas Thakur, he famously said, you cannot do that. He said, I cannot do that. So we should not try to tempt Maya. It doesn't end up well. That's historically speaking. You can look back and see, you know, that even in ISKCON we have our stories. They're all educational if you understand the context. Because this, after all, is the material world. And like Prabhupada said, you cannot do this. Especially the emphasis is on us. So we'll read the verse again. Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am your faithful devotee, so please explain this. Past and future. What you came with and what you make of it. This is our challenge, right? And don't take yourself too seriously. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm a big devotee. Maya can't touch me. I'm a great kirtan leader. I'm a great book distributor. I'm a great cook. Even the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvaraham aham bhogi siddhaham balavan sukhi. Right? I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I have killed all my enemies, and tomorrow I will kill more. No one is as happy as me. This is, when you hear these things, you know that this person is, what do they say? Pride comes before a fall. Something's about to happen. We've seen it repeatedly. When we don't gamble, but some things are a sure bet. So you have to be careful. Any questions, comments? Anyone want to dance with Maya, Natyabar Gauranga? Well, remember, loud because... Oh, I need my translator. Okay, so like Jayad Maharaj. So after Natyabar says, and Lokik, you can repeat
You're talking about palmistry?
Okay.
And I just remembered something. I was trying to search for the exact source, so I couldn't find it. Maybe someone else remembers exactly the source. But it was a pastime with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he was telling one of his disciples to get initiated, and they were to take sannyas, and apparently a palmist had seen it and told him that, oh, you're going to be a family person. But then, so he went to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he said, why are you scared? Taking to bhakti means taking shelter of the, one who makes, everyone fearless when you take shelter of his feet. And so anyways, he ended up following and taking sannyas, and then later he met the same palmist, and the palmist looked at his hands, and he said, oh, I've heard about it, but I've never seen it, and now I've actually seen it that, Krishna can actually change the lines in someone's hand. And so basically the point is, because he was following the orders of his guru, his fate can change.
And some, obviously, learned persons can tell that, nothing's changed means you're bhajan karo, pujan karo, matli janli hoy. Right? Prabhupada quoted that in Vrindavan in Bengali. He says, your bhajan and your pujan will be tested at the time of death. So that's the ultimate test. You can appearances are deceiving. But actions speak louder than words. So you can see who is that person who undergoes the austerity of executing the order of the spiritual master like Prabhupada. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. So these things are part of our shared realization. Even in this material world, people are very keen. A person who is successful can tell who he can work with. He can see a poser, a person who's just pretending. And you can see someone who's actually sincere, who has the qualifications, who will actually do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. So all these things are there. We have to thank you, Nata Bhargavanga, for giving us a little additional context there. Did you ever get your palm read? Did he tell you? You're going to take sannyas in 10 years? Yeah. Yes, we're all in training. That's the point. But the essential thing is samsiddhya haritoshanam. Atak pumbya dvija. It doesn't matter where you are, what your vana. You have to please the Lord. Samsiddhya haritoshanam. And that means that agriyatake, banetake, sadahari, bhavitake, whatever ashram you're in, the prime motivation, direction has to be that I have to please Krishna. And as long as you're guided by that, then your path will remain clear. But as soon as you're starting to think that, well, let me give a little to Krishna here, I'll put a little bit here on the side for me. Like Prabhupada also related that. The thing about hearing Prabhupada, and this is why I encourage everyone to listen to Prabhupada's lectures, because Prabhupada didn't put everything in the books. He put the essential in there. Those are the law books. But then, just like a law book, it has a decision. Lawyers speak and it becomes a precedent. Or the judge makes a decision, it becomes a precedent. And Prabhupada gives that example that people go to Vrindavan. They've worked their whole lives. They've accumulated a nice nest egg. And they say, they tell their family members, now I'm going to Vrindavan. Here's 2 lakhs, 2 crores. You just give me 200 rupees for my maintenance. Right? And Prabhupada quoted that, he said, yes, okay. If you're for me 200 rupees, then I'm for you 200 rupees. Ye tamam prapadyante tam sitava piramiham. You have 2 lakhs, 2 crores, and you're giving Krishna a pittance. Krishna doesn't see what you give, he sees what you hold back. So, but this is, you have to be a little conscious to grasp that concept. Krishna doesn't need anything. What does he need from us? Bhakti mam abhijanati. And sometimes you have to show the bhakti by, okay, I've made so much money. Like Rupa Goswami, we're reading Teach Lord 50% distributed to the Brahmins, 25% kept for the family, 25% kept for emergencies. But the bulk of everything went to serve the deities and the devotees. Otherwise, one becomes Kripana, which reminds me, I see Krishna Kripa in the back holding the microphone. So he must have some purport for us. But of course, I can't hear a thing you're saying. Did the green light come on? Is the amplifier in the back turned on?
Yeah,
Okay.
you had a godbrother, Nikolananda, in Germany, who did astrology. And he said when he did the charts of the devotees, everything before initiation was as he calculated, but after the initiation, you couldn't be sure. Yeah, so he experienced that your chart changes.
Your lines are changing every time you clap your hands. I expect to see everyone clapping their hands tomorrow at Mangalarti. Sometimes I see people, and I used to see all the time, I said, oh, you belong to the pocket club. People standing in Mangalarti with their hands in their pocket, not folded in front of the deities, not clapping. I'll just casually bump into them and say, oh, you're a part of the pocket club. There's like people who come at the end of Arti, we call, oh, you're part of the fan club. So that's okay, but at least you're in Mangalarti. But still, you want to join Mangalarti with all of your enthusiasm. Utsahan nistya daya tat tat karma pravatanat. And so clapping your hands and chanting and dancing, these things all go together. Don't neglect. Prabhupada said, you clap your hands, your lines change. The birds of sin fly away. It's free. Can you imagine? You don't even have to go into a confession booth. An unnecessary distraction and detour. Just have to clap your hands. My dear Lord, from this day forward, I am yours. That's all. We should be thinking like that when we come to the temple in the morning and see the deity. From this day forward, I am yours. Hopefully the day before was also the Lord's. But this constant appreciation of my position in relationship to the Supreme Lord as servant and master, there's no harm. From this day forward, I am yours. And from every day forward, beyond that, please allow me to become an instrument. That's all. Nimitta matram bhava savya. Let me become an instrument. If you're seriously praying like that, Krishna will give you that opportunity. But then you have to take it. You have to take it. If you don't take it, I've told this story before, my godbrother Alankar. I was coming to the temple, and I really liked coming to the temple. I liked being with the devotees. I liked taking prasadam. I liked washing the pots. I would do it all the time, and so they would tolerate me with my disheveled demeanor. This hippie, long-haired kid, what's he doing? Why is he? But he told me one time, and we were in Prabhupada's quarters, and he engaged me. I was very grateful because he could see that I had some attention to detail. When I cleaned, I deep cleaned. I didn't just superficially clean. So he assigned me to clean Prabhupada's quarters. It was a great honor. I was a bhakta. I wasn't initiated. And he wasn't standing over me watching. He said, this is Prabhupada's quarters. Everything is sacred. That desk that's in that room, everything is there. Says you just have to clean, put everything back exactly the way it was. And I don't know, at one point he said to me, he said, you know, Krishna is like your dearmost friend. And he's inviting you repeatedly to come and stay with him. And just like a person who's in the material world who tells you, hey, you know, I'm having a get-together, I'm having a party, why don't you come? You know, for whatever reason you don't show up. I was too busy doing something else. So that person is only going to invite you so many times, and then he's going to stop. And when he said it to me, it was a shock. Because I thought I could enjoy my halava and eat it too, have my cake and eat it too. I was just enjoying everything else, but I had no idea that I should commit myself and move in and join the temples. I was literally trying to enjoy both parts. And he said, no. Eventually, Krishna, in other words, what I was experiencing, the taste, the little taste that Krishna allowed me to experience, I thought, yes, that could go away, you know, if I'm not careful. I'm not cultivating that. I didn't quite grasp the concept of the bhakti lata bij. I was chanting, I was attending, but everything has to be there, not just the minimum. So when he told me that, I said, okay. And especially, Prabhupada was coming, I said, okay, let me take this opportunity. I said, I may not get another chance. It passed through my mind that maybe something will happen. Because what he said, that Krishna, it's not that Krishna is sending you, you know, a direct message like a DM. He's not DMing you, say, hey, I'm having a party, you should come over. No. He's giving you an opportunity to come. And what's the downside of that? Then maybe you're going to get in a car accident. And that's it, you lost your chance. Not that consciously you decided you didn't want to go. You actually can't go. Now it's done. Now you're a paraplegic, you know, waiting for somebody to pull the plug on you because you're just a useless lump of flesh taking up space in the hospital bed. And they do that. They'll pull the plug on you just to get you out. They'll say, oh, he's an organ donor. We're going to harvest his organs. And they can't harvest your organs after they pull the plug. You have to be viable. So that's a lie. If anyone has organ donor on his license or anything, make sure you remove that. Because they will pull the plug on you. And then tell your relatives, oh, he was brain dead. That's a lie. Anyway, any other revelations, realizations, comments, concerns? Sunday, we have a lot to do. And we should take prasadam and get to the business of serving Krishna, cleaning our heart and cleaning the temple simultaneously. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shivada Govinda Dev ki jai.